Avengers Doomsday has a Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts problem. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, I'm John Campea, and let's talk about Avengers Doomsday, and more specifically, the very real problem this movie has before it even hits theaters. Because for the first time in MCU history, an Avengers movie is not being preceded by massive audience-proven theatrical hits, and that very much matters. If you go back and look at the buildup to previous Avengers films, Marvel didn't just hope audiences would show up, they had proof that people were already invested. Before Avengers Age of Ultron, you had Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor movies that were all huge crowd pleasers. Before Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, you had Captain America Civil War, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy, billion-dollar film after near billion-dollar film franchises that audiences were emotionally locked into. Those Avengers movies were the culmination of things that people already loved. They were the reward. They were the climax. Now, look at what's leading into Doomsday: Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Very few people went to go see these movies in theaters compared to past MCU lead-ins. These are not billion-dollar engines, they are not cultural events, and they are not characters that the general audience has already demonstrated deep attachment to at the box office. And that creates a problem for Avengers movies that they've never had before. Because Avengers films don't just sell themselves on spectacle, they sell themselves on the emotional investment, on I've been with these characters for years and I need to see what happens next. But now, instead of being a reward, Avengers Doomsday is something very different. You see, it's a test. It's testing whether audiences actually connected to this current era of the MCU. It's testing whether people care enough about these newer characters to show up in huge numbers. It's testing whether Marvel can still generate that same sense of urgency it once did effortlessly. If audiences skipped Fantastic Four, and if audiences skipped Thunderbolts, if audiences didn't show up to get attached to these characters and their stories, despite how good those movies ended up being, then Avengers Doomsday is asking people to care about a payoff they never fully bought into in the first place. And there's another big difference this time around that wasn't around before. Previous Avengers movies were built almost entirely on movie characters. Now, Marvel is leaning into Disney Plus characters, and that's a risky shift, because asking casual moviegoers to keep up with multiple streaming shows, some of which they may not have even watched or even knew existed, it creates friction. And friction is the enemy of opening weekend box offices. In the past, you didn't need homework. You didn't need a subscription. You just needed to have gone to the movies. And that's no longer the case. And this ties into another issue the MCU is facing right now. There is no longer a clear emotional through line. When Infinity War and Endgame were approaching, everything felt like it was moving in one direction. Thanos was coming. Every movie mattered. Every character felt connected to the same inevitable conclusion. But right now, the MCU feels fragmented. Different stories, different tones, different priorities, and for a lot of the audience, no obvious sense of what all this is building up towards. So when Marvel announces Avengers Doomsday, the reaction isn't automatically, "Oh my God, I can't wait to see how this ends." For a lot of people, it's more like, wait, how did we get here? And that uncertainty is something that Marvel didn't have to fight before. Now, add to that the fact that audiences' trust has been shaken. You see, for over a decade, Marvel Studios had nearly unlimited goodwill with the fans. People showed up because they trusted the brand. Even if a movie looked a little weird, audiences believed it would pay off. That trust isn't gone entirely, but it's no longer automatic. Now people are more cautious. They wait, they skip. They decide what's must-see and what can wait for streaming. See, prior to Endgame, and you've heard me say this before, when a new MCU movie was coming out, we all expected it to be great. But today, with the inconsistent quality recent films have had, when a new MCU movie comes out, we just hope that it's good. And that's a big shift. And when audiences stop treating every MCU movie as essential, an Avengers film can no longer purely rely on the logo to do the work. Now, I want to be clear, none of this means that Avengers Doomsday is, well, doomed. A great trailer can change perceptions, a compelling villain can focus the narrative, strong word of mouth can rebuild momentum. But Marvel is no longer standing on the same foundation that it once was. Previous Avengers movies were built on certainty, but this one is built on hope. And that makes Avengers Doomsday the most interesting and arguably the most precarious Avengers movie Marvel Studios has ever made. It'll be interesting to see how people react. What do you guys think about all this? Do you think that Avengers Doomsday has a Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four problem? Jump down into the comments below and let me know your thoughts.